Hello and welcome back to REV Endurance Sports and a preview of my 300-kilometer event tomorrow morning. Today is Friday, April the 5th of 2024. The event is April the 6th with a 5 a.m. start. So that probably means like a 3 a.m. wake up. Luckily, it's pretty close to home, the start point. It's in Solana Beach. And that's not that far from my bike shop, which is in San Marcos. I think about, 6 to 7 miles as the crow flies to the ocean. But, we're going to go diagonal to get to the start. But 300 kilometers with 8,400 feet of climbing, so about 2,600 meters, give or take. And most of the climbing's on the front end. So I will go through a little bit of the route. I'll show where the controls are. And as a special bonus for me, unfortunately for Jess, we started to increase the mileage that she was doing. We did a couple of 200Ks. We did one in like December or November, and then we did one in, there's a video of our discussion. I can't remember when it was. I'm sorry, like maybe January, February. But she's got a lot of soft tissue, aches, pains, and just stuff. So going long is very difficult for her. Not to mention, she doesn't get as much time to ride as I do. But we'll get into that as well, too. I've not been riding as much. So she is going to sag for me at the controls. If you're not aware of the way Brevet rules go, you are not allowed outside support except at the controls. So these controls, so start, 1, 2, 3. There are 3 controls in the 188 miles or 300 kilometers. And so those are the only places that you can accept support. They're usually, because the event's usually unsupported, it's usually at a convenience store, so you can go in, get whatever stuff you need, get a receipt, and then that proves that you were there. That's one way. The other way to prove that you were there is now with Strava and GPS computers being so commonplace, there is what they call electronic proof of passage. So you have this electronic proof of passage, EPP. And so you submit to the RBA, the Regional Brevet Administrator. You submit that file and they can just drill down really easily just by zooming in on your GPS track. Yep, he was here, he was at this corner, and he made this turn here. And honestly, brevets are on the honor system. I mean, why would you cheat? You're only cheating yourself. So it's just accountability, but you're on the honor system. You're going to do the route just because you are challenging yourself, right? So as I mentioned, this is a blessing in disguise, sort of, because, Jess can't do this 300 kilometers, so she's going to sag at the controls. So let me show you the route, and then we'll go into a little bit of my mileage or kilometers for the year. And the headline is, I don't feel prepared enough. But, you've got these long distance legs for many, many years. So you just kind of count on it. And you're just like in your head, you're like, oh, well, I've ridden further. I've ridden harder. I've ridden in windstorms and all this stuff. So that's already in your head of all the things you've already accomplished. And you just figure, well, if I just stay fueled, I'll be fine. Right? All right. So let's take a look at the event. And so this is the event route. So this is Solana Beach. That's the start at 5 a.m. as I mentioned. And it's going to roll out. And that is going to be like the first control. Now it's a 5 a.m. start. That's 22 miles. I can check how much climbing there is here. So like, let's say it's this first part here. So I can drag and just see what that is, because I'm curious now. I haven't done much research on this on this route. So somewhere around there. So yeah, about 23 miles or so with about 2,000 feet of climbing. So that's the first control. Then the next one is, so this is all inland stuff. You can see this mountain range here. And that's Corona. Now we've been to Corona before. Last year we did a 400K up in that area. Or, you know, from the San Diego, from the US and Mexican border, way down south here, we went all the way up to Corona and back. So there's the Mexican border. And so we started way, way, way down there and came all the way up to Corona and then up and around, and we did some other stuff. But eventually that was 400K. All right, so then this part here, as you head west, this being the Pacific Ocean, usually that is an onshore flow, onshore winds, and that's usually a headwind coming from here to here. And then funny thing, because of the way the coast is curved like that, let me give you a better perspective. Because the coast is curved, that onshore flow that comes in like this ends up being pretty much, can be a tailwind. When I did the 600K, we came from somewhere up here in LA and came down to Long Beach, from here all the way to somewhere down here. I don't remember where it was. It was down in Mission Valley. That's where it was. That was not a tailwind. So down inside here, that was not a tailwind. All right. So if we look at the elevation graph, most of the climbing is going to be in those first 90-ish miles. So like to right around there. So that's, let's see what's that, 89. So let's call that 90 miles with about 5,800 feet. And then according to this, there's still another 2,700 feet. So the climbing is not that bad. It's all on the front end. And as I mentioned just a second ago, this is all headwind through here. And this should be, oops, let's get that out of there. Well, for some reason I can't get rid of that. Anyway, this should be tailwind, should be. So let's see, how far is that? Huntington Beach Control. So you and I are looking at this at the same time because I've not spent much time on this yet. Most of these roads are fairly common to where I've been riding forever. So from mile 124 to the finish, so about 100K to the finish, should be a tailwind. We'll see how that goes. So then I thought, well, let me show the folks what I've been doing this year. So I've only ridden 32 times for about 2,000 miles and 202,000 feet of climbing, 152 hours. So what does that translate to? Well, basically it's about 64 miles per ride. So about 100K per ride. 6,300 feet per ride. So about 1,900 meters per ride. And only 32 of them. But about 4 3/4 hours on the bike each time I get on the bike. I've just not been riding that much. If you think about today being April the 5th, that's, let's say, January, February, March. So 31 plus 29, because we had a leap year this year. So that's 60 days. Plus March is 31 more days. That's 91 days plus 5. So 96 days. I've only ridden 32 of them. So not that much, but we'll see. Hopefully, just the fact that I've been an endurance cyclist for so long will help out. If you folks want to follow me on Strava, see how that goes. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as well, but I don't know what generation is using Facebook predominantly now. I think it might be our generation or older. But anyway, that is the quick summary on the route. Now let's talk about the bike for a minute. I'm going to use my road logic, and in the previous 200K, I talked about how I was riding 32 tires on this rim brake bike, and I did it because there was also a storm that had come through days before. And some folks had asked, well, what do your tires actually measure? So the batteries are kind of dead on this micrometer, so we're going to use just the analog scale here. And so they measure shoulder to shoulder about 32. If you see that? So they measure about 32. Now it's super tight in the rear brake caliper. Unfortunately, I can't get a really good angle of that. But in the front, there is plenty of room in the caliper. The rim brake caliper is going to be the determining factor. But there's plenty of room, and I don't have to ride these 32s, but now that I have them, I need to wear them out. I've got some 30s that just came in. So these and those Richies just came in as well. But I got these 30s that I'm end up putting on and riding predominantly. When I did Paris Press Paris, I rode 30s on the gray Richie over there. So I had no problems whatsoever with the tire rubbing the brakes. Now there's plenty of clearance in the chain stays, as you can see there. So plenty of clearance in the chain stays and seat stays for a 32 tire on this Richie. I'm trying to get you a good view of that, but that's hard to do. Anyway, so the road logic with my frame pump, and I'm going to go through my flat repair because if you've been watching the channel, we just had some flatting issues for Jessica's tire. So doing an inventory of my flat repair, and so yeah, that's the bike I'm riding. I won't need any extra bags or anything, thank goodness. I won't need any, like in the last 200K, we wore a hydration pack just so that we could minimize our stops, but won't need that this time because Jess is going to be at the controls. All right, well, that's all for today. There'll be a video, like a after event report, summary, if you will. Things that worked, things that didn't work. Nutrition, of course, I'm going to use my own product. It's just a very, very clean burning carb source. And then just add some electrolytes and flavor or no flavor after. Yeah, so that's probably a good time to talk about it. So this is probably about a 12-hour effort for me. I'm hoping. The headwinds will slow me down, but then the tailwind should speed me up on the last 100K. We'll see how that goes. But 12 hours, I'm thinking about 300 calories per hour is what I'll pack and have with in the car as well. And with a product like mine, it's very easy to digest that. So I don't ever worry about, oh, my stomach's going to bunch up from eating 300 calories per hour. And that's on an average, right? Because let's say I go up a climb, if I'm huffing and puffing, I'm probably not eating or drinking anything. But then I summit and I might slam, half of the bottle in one shot, right? And so my bottles are usually about 500 calories per bottle. So 5 scoops of this in my bottles. So I may slam that right away, and then maybe there's another climb shortly thereafter, within that hour, and I may drink the other half of that bottle. So now I'm at 500 calories consumed in that hour. But maybe I'm in a pace line with other people and I'm not eating or drinking, right? So it's on an average. So when you plan your nutrition for the event, you say, okay, this many miles, kilometers, this many feet of climbing or meters, how long is that going to take me? I think about 12 hours. I need 12 times 3. I need 3,600 maybe. I mean, it just depends what you're wanting to do it with. You may want to do all of it with a powdered nutrition. You may want to do sandwiches. You may want to stop at the convenience stores and actually eat food there. You may take bars, gels, whatever it takes to have 3,600 calories with you. That's your plan, and then you alter it as you go along. You may have to call an audible, which is a football reference, where you had a plan, and at the line of scrimmage, you change that plan, right? Just before the ball is snapped. So you have to be flexible with your nutrition, and don't let that wreck your mind. I think some folks, oh, my stomach's all messed up. I got to stop. I got to pull over. That's fine. Take a little bit of time. Let your body digest, because as you're racing or as you're riding hard, you're not digesting as much. So sometimes sitting out for a little bit, half hour, maybe longer, a couple of hours, get your stomach back in line. In a brevet, like a 300-kilometer brevet, I think you get like 20 hours. So it's a very generous time frame to complete the event. So don't feel the pressure that either you're cramping, your stomach's a mess. Just sit it out, relax. You've got time, and let your body recover. Once you digest all that stuff and then go to the bathroom if you have to or whatever, you will get back on the bike and you will feel amazing. Sometimes you just push through it. You just keep pedaling, even though you're not feeling so great, but at least the wheels are rolling and you're making progress down the course. So you decide, right? Where am I at? Do I have enough time to do that? What's the weather like? Is nightfall coming? Is it going to be colder? Is it going to rain? You have to make all those decisions as you're going down the road. Okay, that's all for today. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you up the road.